Hi, Half Pint Finn here. Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to take a Plague Claw and make it easily convertible into a Warp Lightning Cannon. But first, I'd like to thank Long Island Wargaming for the original idea behind this conversion. I will link their YouTube video down below. However, their YouTube video does not show the entire build process of this conversion, so I thought that's what I would do today, to show you exactly how it's done. So, I'm going to configure mine in what I would call the medium configuration, as opposed to the tall or small configuration. I just think that happens to look better, but this conversion should be able to be used with any three of those. First thing I'm going to do is these two pieces here, as you can see, don't have any texturing there, and that kind of bugs me. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a handy dandy dental pick and just scrape along inside. Now, this isn't going to create the best wood grain, but at the end of it should create some texture. So as you can see right here, it does create some sort of level of wood grain. Might not be too visible on the camera, but it's comparable to the wood grain that you see pre-done on the inside of the piece here. So, I'm kind of happy with it, and I'm just going to get the second piece done. Now, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to glue these two pieces onto here. And when I eventually get around to putting these and assembling it into the greater frame of this, I'm not going to glue this part in right here, and that'll allow me to turn the piece as I see fit, while also turning the gears itself, because I think that'll give a greater effect to watch those kind of spin. You could do it if you want to, where you do the opposite, where you glue these pieces into here and then leave these pieces unglued. But for the purpose of these of this conversion, where we're going to be swapping between sort of the catapult position and the warp lightning cannon position, which you'll see later, I would not recommend gluing it straight into place. So definitely do that. Another example I've seen is people magnetizing them so they can just kind of snap in. I don't think that's really necessary for this build, but that's another option. So now I can finally glue these pieces together. Now, while I'm waiting for this to dry, I went ahead off camera and assembled the warp stone and the plague claw. Now, the plague claw here, I've already started to sort of scrape out with a hobby knife a spot in that indentation right there that a magnet will be able to sit in. There's probably better ways to do this, like with a drill bit, but truth be told, I'm too lazy to go out into my garage right now. It's Canadian weather, and it's cold out right now. So now I've got this small neodymium magnet, which I actually pulled off of a set of used Nighthaunt that I bought, and right there, with the hole that I have carved in to the plague claw, it sits, if I can get it in the right position, finicky little thing, it sits just about flush. So I am happy with that, and I'm going to start gluing it in. Now with the plague claw fully glued, I took off this piece right here, and I still have not assembled the full frame yet, just because what I'm going to be doing is adding a magnet onto where this notch is cut out of the post here. And that will allow me to fully magnetize this on. You do lose a bit of detail this way, but I think what you gain out of having both the Plague Claw and the Warp Cannon is a lot better than, you know, that little bit of detail that you lose. So right now I'm just going to cut off this piece here. Okay. Perfect. So what you have to make sure to do is make sure your magnets are aligned correctly. So, you know, make sure the polarization is correct, otherwise they will, you know, repel each other, and you definitely don't want that. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue this, and we'll see what it's like after. So, off camera, I have just painted up, well, not all of it, as you can see the crystal there, but I've painted up the actual, you know, lightning cannon aspect of this, as well as the flame here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these together real quickly, and while that's drying, we're going to work on magnetizing the back here. Now that we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to start working on the end piece right here. So this little notch is going to be cut off and replaced with a magnet. I would say that it's just about perfect. So we'll leave those two to dry and we'll get back onto the greater project. So now that this is good and dry, what we'll notice here is that the magnet that I've used is actually slightly bigger than the hole of this piece, which means that this can no longer go in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to carve out inside there to make sure that this magnet can fully fit through. And in order to do that properly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some red paint, or any bright paint that you have, and I'm going to add a little bit onto the top there, and just press it down, making sure to be where we kind of want to be, as equally as possible. And that will give us a marking for what we actually need to carve out. So once that dries, I'm going to start working on that. Of course, you Games Workshop and your overly spiky miniatures. Okay, so finally, I've gotten this to fit in through. It's not the prettiest piece, and there are all gaps that you can see going down into there, but I mean, it's Skaven. So I'm not too worried about that. Of course, again, if I was smarter and less lazy, I would be using a drill bit, which would be a lot better and a lot neater than, well, what I've carved out here. However, I almost kind of like this sort of style for Skaven, so, you know, teach their own. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna slide a magnet into this part right here and glue that in, and that will create a perfect place to attract here. Again, always keep in mind with this project the polarities of the magnets, because it is going to get a little bit confusing once we get further in. I'm just using a toothpick here, any non-ferrous instrument, to try and get this as centered as possible. I don't think it's really gonna matter, but I think it will help once it's fully dry. So next what we're gonna do, and truth be told, I kind of wish I did this before putting on the electrical cage here. We are going to cut back this end piece, and we're going to be careful that we don't go over where that notch is, because that notch is the guiding point for how we want this to be angled. So now that I've shaved off that piece, I am going to attach a magnet directly in the center here. Now again, the polarity for this will be dependent on the polarity of the inside of this piece. Now, we're going to let all that dry and see how it fits together. Now that these are dried, I am going to test the fit, and it is looking good, and that is solid. So, we have this done for now. This piece, where did I lose it? There we go. This piece right here. Perfect. And that, again, is solid. Now that everything's working out, we're going to work on getting this piece attached to the main beam here. In order to do that, there are these two spikes right here. Keep in mind we are doing it on the opposite of this hinge, where the claw gets attached to. So we're flipping this over, putting it on this side. Though I guess this is also technically a personal preference, but for the purpose of my video, this is how I'm going to be doing it. So I'm just going to take a knife here and cut those right off. And we might even keep them in a little corner, and we attach them somewhere else, except for that one, apparently. So, I'm gonna smooth these out, and once we're done, we're gonna work on gluing down these magnets. And I'm gonna try and make them the same polarity, just so I don't have to fiddle around with it. Now this one might give me a little bit of trouble. Now I'm just gonna attach the second magnet. I'm gonna try and use the same polarity, just so, I don't know, if I ever want to mount the warp cannon backwards or anything like that, for whatever reason, I can. So, basically going to place the magnet there and make sure that it is facing the same way downwards. I'll leave that to dry. Next, we're going to work on these parts right here, where normally it would be connecting into the spikes. We're going to magnetize these. So, just to keep it from being a bit too high, kind of hurts me to do, but it'll look good after, especially after painting. Take this out. Make sure that polarity is in the right place. I'm just eyeballing it here to make sure it's not twisted either way. That's where I want it to be. In fact, in order to line that up, I've got the second magnet right there. I'm just going to add the glue on preemptively. Actually, I'm going to do this for both of them. So I've got the double magnets. I'm just going to add the glue on now. That way I can get the proper lineup of where these need to go, as well as the proper orientation. So currently everything is dry now, and we are just test fitting, so everything here is looking good. And of course, we'll flip it around. We have the plate cloth, and we can have this snap in perfectly like that. This piece right here is gonna go. I'm just gonna smooth it down with a few cuts of my X-Acto blade. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure, again, that big word that's being used constantly throughout this video, the polarity is correct on the inside of here, because I want it to attach to the inside of here, and I don't want these two to really kind of reflect against each other. So I now know which side I need to put downwards on the bit, and that is of course this side right here, and that is going to be attached right there. And alas, I have surrendered in my long fight against laziness, because I have now gotten the fabled drill bit out of the shed. The reason being is that this magnet, which I thought might be connected strongly enough to this magnet here on the opposite side, is not. It's still... well, as you see there. It's still, decent enough, but, it's still falling out. So, rather than, spend hours with my scalpel here trying to get into that little indented dimple there, I am actually just going to drill this out. I'm going to treat this like a hand drill, just so I don't go too deep. And eventually, I will have it where this is pressed up in here. Just because the end of the drill bit is angular, and it leaves an angular imprint there, and I don't want to go too deep, I'm just going to carve out the walls a bit with my trusty scalpel. That is looking good. So, get this glued up and then test it out. There's a lot of gluing, placing and gluing and testing, making sure that everything is where it should be in this build. But that's where all the fun is, right? Okay, so while this piece is mostly drying, I'm going to start working on this right here. First off, I'm going to take this piece and kind of try and fit it on. See if there's kind of a tighter side and a looser side, and this one definitely is the loose side. Right here fits, it's snug, it's tight no matter which way. Oop, maybe not so every way, but it's tight enough that it's not going to fall off, and that's kind of what we want, because unfortunately with the way this is going, there's no way to magnetize it unless I went and dug a little crevice inside the top of here and put the magnet at the top of here. I don't really want to go that far, especially because once I paint this outside, it's gonna definitely tighten up here. Every once in a while it may scrape off paint, and I might need to add a little bit of touch up, but I don't think it's going to be too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the tight side, and the opposite of that is what we're going to cut. So the little crystal part here sticking out, we are saying goodbye to. Next up, we're going to add a magnet onto this end here. Also, while you're doing this, try not to flick plastic into where you just glued. Might help. So I'm gonna check the polarity of inside here. And that will be the side that is facing outwards. So whatever is attracted, obviously you want these two bits to be attracted to each other. And that, I believe, is the final magnet. So once it's all dried up, we will fully configure this, and I'll show you the, well, unpainted end product. Okay, so now I have assembled almost everything. I still haven't glued on everything because unfortunately I can't paint this yet because I am running drastically low on gray seal, and I need to go and pick up some from the store. However, everything about the magnetization and the swapping between the lightning cannon and the plague catapult is completely finished. So let's see how it works. So first off, we'll do plague claw. Slide that onto there. Slide that in there. And there we go. And you can see there's a little bit of a notch there, but you know, once you paint over that, I think it kind of actually matches in with the aesthetic very well, especially if you've gotten it nice and centered. Now, swapping to the warp lightning cannon is as easy as taking this off, these off, flipping this over, attaching that piece right there, putting end on here, next with that snaps away then, And this piece just fits snug right on. Hopefully with less wheels falling off. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this, was a good how-to, and hope more people are able to do this, save some money, and, experience a little bit more of the game. So, have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Okay, so hear me out. Plague Claw fires, throws the gunk. Lightning Cannon goes off. Recoil sends it back. Resets into position. Yeah? 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 No? Oh, okay.